You're muted, Jennifer.
Sorry. Last but not least, we are going to hear from Lisa McKean Baker, the Executive Director of Community Living Ajax Pickering Whitby.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to present to you tonight. And thank you for the amazing work that you've been doing for so many years. You've raised a ton of money and no doubt have made our community a better place for many people through your efforts. So community living has been part of the Ajax Pickering Whitby community since 1957. And we actually got our start because parents were fed up that their children with intellectual disabilities had nowhere to go during the day. They weren't able to go to school. So they banded together and they lobbied what was then the Durham County Board of Education, and they created a school for children with intellectual disabilities called Alden School. So those of you that have been in Ajax for quite some time may remember Alden School on Bircher Road. They went on, they didn't stop there, they continued in their efforts and created a sheltered workshop, which is on Doughty Road. We actually still have that property today. They created that in the late 60s so that as these children got older, they had a place to go and be productive and do meaningful activities during the day. In the 80s, we expanded to include residential supports. We opened a number of group homes, in particular in response to the closure of Durham Center, which was a large facility in Whitby that housed people who had intellectual disabilities. We were able to provide a more personal way of living in the community. And in the early 2000s, we opened a treatment home, and we still have that home today. It's a home that serves people who have intellectual disabilities and also mental health challenges. So they come to us, we work with them, and we help them to move to less restrictive environments in the community. So our mission is all about helping people who have intellectual disabilities to live safely and inclusively in the community. And we do that through a number of different services, some that I've already touched on. We have our group homes. We have supported independent living. We have a treatment home that I talked about. We have day supports. We have urgent and crisis response. So we're actually providing support to people with intellectual disabilities who are homeless, living on the streets. We have a manager who responds in those situations. We have supported employment, and for the people involved in that program, they have to make at least minimum wage. We don't want people working for below minimum wage anymore, and this is why we actually closed our sheltered workshop. It's now a community hub where people go and spend time in the community from that base. We have summer programs for transitional aged youth. We have volunteer services. We're just launching a project where we're looking at social isolation and the impacts on people with intellectual disabilities. Interesting work to be doing during a pandemic, but we're eager to see the results. And we work with families who have their own funding, and we recently started a family support group. We want to get back to the grassroots, which is how community living started. Our most pressing need right now, believe it or not, is around equipment. So one of the homes that we operate is what we like to refer to it as our seniors home. The oldest person that lives there is 100.5 years of age. And she lives right now with a gentleman who is 88. And soon we're very hopeful that they're going to be joined by a woman that we've been supporting in our supported independent living program for the past 40 years. This is a woman that is like family to those of us at the community living organization. She's very active in the community. She loves arts and crafts. She walks, she swims. And sadly, towards the end of the summer, she suffered a pretty significant stroke, and it's left her unable to walk. And the only thing she kept saying to us was, I want to go home, I want to go home. And that's not going to happen. She cannot go back to her apartment because she's no longer able to walk. And if anybody follows the developmental services sector, you'll know that group home placements are really hard to come by. In fact, in Durham region for the last fiscal year, oh my goodness, there were 6 vacancies declared for 600 people seeking support. We figured out how to support this woman in one of our homes because we do have a spot, but we're in dire need of equipment. We need a Hoyer lift. We've got a hospital bed donated. We need something called a Broda chair to help her to move from one position to the next. And we want to live true to our mission, which is to help people to live the way they want to live. As much as she wants to go back to her apartment, we want her to understand that the four walls don't make home. It's about a feeling. It's about people caring for you. It's about being loved. And we know that we can continue to provide that for her as we have been for 40 years, as long as we can secure the equipment that we need. Thank you. I'm sorry I rambled at the end, but man, that bell was stressful.
Sorry.